I'm going to be replacing the rear plastic window on a convertible top for a 1954 Crestline Sunliner Convertible. I bought the car at auction a couple months ago. We brought it in the shop, and when we started to clean it out, we found inside there was a convertible top. It was all folded up in the box, brand new, probably been sitting in there for 30 years. So when we took it out of the box, we started steaming the canvas a little bit to get it to loosen up, and it's loosening up fine. When we tried to flatten out the window, you'll see that it ended up getting a little bit of a crack in it. So the canvas is going to clean up okay, but you'll see, and after steaming that, it's starting to flatten out. We'll be able to bleach some of it to get it white again. But when we tried to flatten it out, even with the steamer, we broke the plastic window. So we ordered up some plastic material on eBay. I'll put the link for that inside the comment section. But I'm going to get that opened up and show you how to take this window apart and sew the new plastic window in. So first thing, I've got it laid out on my table, a nice flat table, because what we're going to have to do is we're going to make some marks of where some of these go along the canvas, so we can make sure we put it back in the same spot. So we'll make a little mark here, here, here. We'll mark the center of the window, top and bottom, and then we'll mark a couple spots over here, so that when we do cut our new pattern out, when we lay it out, we put it in exactly the same spot as far as where the curves go, and we can get it sewn in the same spot. After we do that, we're going to take a seam ripper and take out all the seams, all the threads for that are holding the plastic window in. There's two sets of threads. There's this on this side holds the plastic window in, and on this side holds the zipper to the canvas. We're just going to take off this plastic side so we can lay this flat, and we're going to use this piece of plastic as our pattern once we roll out the new plastic. So I'm going to show you how I make the marks on here. This is so that when you do rip all the seams out, you know, because we're going to rip the seams out all around here for the plastic window. When you rip that all out, it's actually going to come out in a couple pieces. You're going to have that top curtain piece, and then you're going to have the bottom piece. That's all going to separate. I like to make marks on them so that they go back exactly where they were. So I just take a little pencil and I just make a little mark like this and a little mark like this. And then I know that that's where that lines up. I'll go up here and do the same thing. I'm going to do it right here, and then even over onto the plastic. As we transfer the plastic, we'll know that that's where the pattern lines up, even on the new piece. And just 5 or 6 marks around everything. You know, it's really the same thing when you're making a copying a pattern for a seat. If you take a seat apart or anything really, you just want to make some marks so you know how to put it back together. Even on the piece that you're going to replace, you want it to be in the same spot. Then I take a seam ripper, a simple seam ripper, something you can get really anywhere from Walmart to Joann's Fabric. And this is double stitched here. It's stitched here and here and here and here, and that's what holds the plastic in all the way around. So we're going to rip all that out so we have just the plastic piece out, and then we can start to make a pattern from that. So here it is with the seams ripped out. I'm trying to keep as much of the other parts together as I can. That makes it easier to put it back together. And, you know, with this one, there's a few different ways to make a pattern. You could use the old piece, which might be a little challenging the way it's bent and tweaked. What we might do is lay out the canvas in a way that it all goes back together with a flat piece of the new material underneath it, and see if we can't do our pattern that way. I'll kind of lay that out for you here. So here is the plastic. I unwrapped it out of the packaging that we got from eBay. I got just enough width, I think 3 feet to do, I think I can get 2 pieces out of it. Hopefully I don't have to do another one anytime soon. So first thing I'm going to do is square it off because it looks like it was just rough cut is how it came. So I'm going to square off the bottom. We'll certainly need a square piece on the bottom. So just square it up. Just cut a little bit off so that the bottom is square, and then I'll use that piece as the bottom of the new one anyways, and we'll know that that is dead square. And that'll be a good starting point. This is 40 gauge plastic. It's what basically what you use for plastic windows in convertibles. Alright, so that's square on the bottom now. So now we know that now just kind of cut out a rough piece. Let's see about how tall our window is. A rough piece that we can start to make the pattern out of. Our window is about 18, so we did about 20 inches. About right there. That's from 4 to about 24. So this will give us just the piece easy to work with, and actually I won't get 2 pieces out of this, 2 windows. Just enough for one. But we'll do something with that piece of plastic. Who knows what? Alright, so now we have our rough piece there to make the pattern out of. Alright, I'm going to work on making the window now. So that gives us a basic idea. But as you can see, the way this was cracked and bent, it's going to be hard to lay it out and get it exactly how we want it. I may use this. Since I've already got the square edge on the bottom, I can line this up. Using those marks. By laying it out like this, I think I'll get a better pattern. Because I can use this. I know this all is laying out way more flat than the other piece would be. So pencil was the best thing for me to use to draw on here. You're not going to be able to see it, but that was the best thing to use. I can see it. Oh, you can get a little glimpse of it there. But that's kind of the pattern I've got it. It came out square on the top, so so I think we got it just right. I'll cut that out now, and we'll see how she looks laid in there. Well, let's see how close it is to the original, even though the original's all crowded up and bent up. We'll see. Oh yeah. I think it could use a little trimming, but this way. Get that up there. What we're going to do is, we like the curve. I think it's a little long. So I'm going to cut a little bit off the top of it. That is not curled up, so that's not going to change the height of it. I think I've got it a little too high. Starting right there. Trim just a little bit off the top the whole way. All right, so after a little bit of trimming, that's pretty darn close. And you know, you have to improvise a little bit sometimes, especially when you're working with an old piece of canvas or using an old piece. You'll realize that even though it measures out one way, it really needs to be symmetrical. So when you fold it in half, it has to be the same, and it's got to be the same top to bottom. Even if the pattern lays out otherwise, it's still got to make it that way. So, there it is. So let's start to see what it looks like laid out. Now I can put it on the top actually and see kind of where it's going to get sewn in. If this is close, if we like this, what I'll do is take the we'll take all the thread out of these oh boy. I think she's gonna be close. Grab a couple clamps here. Well, I think we got it. It's looking good. I had to make just a few small little trims, but now you can see that the plastic lines up right where the seam is supposed to go. So I'll spend a couple minutes now taking out all the rest of the old thread. I'll make a few marks on it and then we'll sew it in. Well, Jill says it's time for dinner, Chinese food. So, but I think I got everything ready to go. When I digest that, I'm going to come up and sew the bottom first. That'll be the first thing to put together because we know that that has to be right in the middle on the bottom, and then the rest can kind of go where it needs to go as we sew it out. So, sesame shrimp, and then sewing the rear window in. All right, I'm going to sew the bottom on first. That one's pretty square. And really all you need to do there is figure out where the middle is of each piece. The middle of the plastic and the middle of the bottom piece. 1/4. So that is 22. Same thing here. From there. So now we know that we want the plastic to start right there. So the first thing I'll do is sew this piece on the bottom. And then we'll mark the sides, and then we'll get that piece sewn on. So I'm going to split the bottom piece open. What happens is this bottom piece actually sandwiches the plastic in between it. It's going to be hard to see to keep the plastic piece right where it needs to be without sewing the bottom first and then sewing on top of that again. I always start in the middle and work my way out because it will kind of push the material, and if you start on one end, you'll push the material so far that it'll change where the center is by the time you get it done. So I'm going to sew this bottom piece on first. Then we'll know where it be, and then I'll double stitch with the top piece on. All right, I got the bottom sewed on here, and it's going to take a double stitch, but it was easier to do one layer like this, single stitch, and then I'll sandwich the other piece over the top of it to do the second layer, and I'll do that right now. So I got the bottom sewn on. We did the double stitch. It's holding on nice. The thing was centered just right. So I think now I'm going to find the center of the top piece, the center there, get that square and sew from the center down that way and center down that way to make sure that everything's symmetrical. But shoot, so far so good with the bottom. A few stitches to take out around the top there. We'll stitch that up, and I think we'll have ourselves a new back window. All right, so we got our center mark to start sewing the top part of the curtain on. So I'll get that set up here and get started sewing that on. This one takes a double stitch too, but I'll do the same thing. I'll stitch one first, just to make sure everything's in place. Then we'll go around and do the second one. Aha! See? Vinyl out, canvas out. I almost sewed it on backwards. Even though I had the mark in the center, I almost sewed it on backwards. Luckily, I caught it on the 4th stitch instead of stitching it all the way around. So I'm gonna seam rip that and put it all back together here the right way. Well, there you have it. New plastic window. Zipper, curtain, double stitched. Easy as that. I'll put all the links for the plastic in the description. If you have any questions, let me know.